Other updates video on Project 500 on my 1988 GMC Sierra. Has a 354 tech swap, took the TBI out, and had a Vortec in it. When I bought it, actually, it was done. The swap was done before I bought it. Had cracked heads, which is notorious for these trucks. Replaced the heads. But anyway, show you what I did today. If you ever have your fan come off and you go through your radiator and you trying to save money on a budget, basically made a mess down here. It's got a transcooler on it, and I'd undone the lines and it got out on me before I was able to get it all buttoned up before it got everywhere. But anyway, took the radiator out and went and bought some JB Weld and took it back here into my garage. Yeah, let's look at it. I've already repaired it, but I just want to show you. You can see it. It's the factory radiator that came in the truck for an automatic. But if you can see these lines right here, that's what the water goes in, and then this area right in here is what the air goes through and actually cools the water that's flowing through these. I don't know what you would call them, these tubes or water tubes, vent tubes, however you want to say it, but I just basically took a screwdriver and mashed these down, and then took JB Weld and JB welded up the cuts. This happened from when I bought some bolts from O'Reilly's. I asked for some new bolts that puts your flex fan on the pulley, and it's an assortment of bolts, and I brought it home and had it on the truck 5 minutes, and they all broke at the same time and sent my fan through this fan here through the radiator and ruined pulley, my belt, and some other things. Upper radiator support, the shroud, it busted a big hole in it. But hoping this fixes it, because you do a liability claim through them and they just take their time, because they're not running around without a vehicle. And even though this is a project truck out here I'm working on, just doing little things here and there, but I've had it for about 2.5 months, and I've only been able to drive it 60, 70 feet and back, because I don't want to drive it without a radiator and stuff in it. But anyway, that's what that looks like. Just get JB Weld, and where the fan blade hit up through here at an angle, you just clear all that this material here down, and then you could actually see where it was. I wished I could have done this before that, but y'all get what I'm saying. And JB weld that up, and hopefully it'll hold. If not, then I've got some more I can put on there. But that's that on it. Have to excuse the mess. I actually share this garage with my son and his girlfriend, and they have a lot of things. There's motorcycle, Harley, if you like riding Harley, if you're into that. But anyway, this is the 350 Vortec motor that was in the truck when I bought it. I bought this truck, and before I bought it, the ad said it needed heads, that they were cracked or had a blown head gasket, which they were blown, or actually not blown, they were cracked. And I bought 2 to 3 sets of heads before I actually found some, after getting a Magnaflux, to actually find some that didn't have hairline cracks in it. And I just put it all back together. One thing, if some of you ASE gurus out there, somebody that might know that I'm baffled, can't understand why it's doing it, because I put everything back the way it was, unless it was vibrating before I bought it. But if you look, when I took to get the heads and everything off, all this has to come off. But in the back here, you probably can't see it with my big fat hands in the way, but right there on the head, there's a bolt that needs to go in there, right there, through this bracket. I don't know if it's supposed to go through that bracket into the head and it holds this from vibrating, but when the truck's running, you can see a vibration in this air conditioning compressor here. And I thought it was maybe because the transmission bounce and stuff are bad, which I replaced them, and it's still vibrating a little bit. But that's really the only bolt that I've not put in there. And I know there's some kind of anchor bolts or something you can get that goes right here, and that'll go here, and it keep, you know, that steady a little bit, which I'm going to buy one and put one there. But I guess what I'm going to do when the radiator cures tomorrow, that'd be 24 hours. I'm going to put everything back together, and the fan blade that was actually hit everything that was bent, I was able to bend it back somewhat and get it almost looking like the rest of the blades. But anyway, I'm going to get everything put together, and then my next project will be fixing this steering column, which I think I showed y'all in one of the videos, that these steering columns here in these trucks, 88 through 94, 95, are bad about doing that, which I thought originally it was bolts. There's 4 bolts in here, and you have to have like 3 specialty tools, one to pull the steering wheel out, and then there's another plate back there. It's got to be pressed in to get to a clip, and then there's another clip right in here that you have to take out. And but anyway, you can't see down in here, but down in there is a piece of aluminum that's busted. So I think what I'm gonna do is put all this out and see if I know this is stupid, but I'm gonna see if I can JB weld it and put everything back together, tighten the bolts up, use Loctite on the bolts that are loose in there too. And if that doesn't fix it, then I'm gonna have to just buy another steering column, which, where I'm from in Foley, Alabama, around here those kind of things go pretty quick, because there's a lot of these trucks running around on the road, and a lot of people just buy them just to have extras, which, you know, is probably smart if you're gonna have a project like this. But the truck shifts out really good. You have to hold up on the steering wheel and hold the base and change the gears with the shifter, and it changes out fine. It changes out real good. Another problem these trucks have is I don't like them with the electric doors. They're cool to have and convenient if you're lazy and fat like I am, but I'd rather have manual, because them things tear up all the time. As you can see, this one's had it. I'm having to use this right here to keep the freaking window from falling down all the way down in there. I'd rather have manuals. They're a lot easier to deal with, and they don't cost you a whole lot of money when you need to fix them. But that one over there works fine. It's good, but this one over here sucks. And then but to get this thing running, just fixing the radiator, and really want to use some electric fan in there instead of using the clutch fan. I think I could actually tell a difference. May just be in my mind, but you could actually tell the difference, and it felt like maybe the torque or the drag or the throttle response from just revving on it with that clutch fan going off of it. But the bed has that's the worst part of the bed right there, is that crack, and I need to fix it, which is not going to be much to fix, but I need a tire here. I think there's probably some ball joint problems or tire rod problems or something, because all the tires are like brand new on this truck. This one's the only one that's wore, so I'm thinking maybe something's in the front end here that I'm going to have to address. But yeah, I tried to replace the water pump on this thing, because I guess the guy had used sealant in here trying to seal the motor off, and so replaced the water pump, replaced all the hoses but the upper radiator hose. I actually ran water and ran some fluids through it and cleaned it out pretty good. The bottom one was toasted, which is new, and I'm going to flush the radiator and stuff out as soon as I get it put back together. If it holds, I'm going to probably use some chemicals and flush the system out in it. But anyway, as soon as I'm able to get everything put back together, I'm going to try to do a pull on it out here, and I'll film how it runs. But this is just kind of an update on something that I've done today to the truck. I'm making these videos basically to look back on. I've got some on my channel from 10 years ago. Like I said before, and I guess the last video I made, I had a Camaro and that had a stroker motor in it, and some motorcycles, and Mustangs and a couple other things, because I like anything American made. I've owned about every kind of sports car there is out there, from Grand Nationals to Corvettes. But before my dad passed away, we built a 74 step-side Chevrolet. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with R&R Machine Shop in Huntsville, Alabama, but my dad was really good friends with them in the Huntsville drag strip. He had set the record there for a stick car for the longest time in a 69 Chevelle with a 396. It was a stroker motor, bored out something. I don't know if it's 401, 403, I'm not really sure. He had the record there for the longest time, but anyway, he's always had hot rods. Kind of the reason why I like hot rods around it. And before he passed away suddenly, we had built a 74 step-side Chevrolet truck, and had a 383 in it, 350 turbo with a stall, had 456 gears, the rear end was built with a locker, and it was just a very fun truck to drive. It was a sleeper truck. It looked just like a regular truck going down the road, primer brown, but it was outrunning everything it got beside it. And I've always wanted to build another truck like that. And so I've got two sons, one that's 26 and one that's 24. And so I bought this truck to kind of give us something to do together, so that maybe, you know, my son and I, my oldest son, we put this truck back together, or got it running together, and hopefully we can get this truck running well enough to drive around. I eventually want to do an LS, 5.3 swap in it, and do a cam and headers and intake and possibly a turbo or a supercharger or something on it, and trailer it. There's two drag strips up here where I live at around Foley, or actually Mobile, I guess you could say. A lot of people would know this area from Mobile, Alabama. There's a Mobile drag strip, and then an Atmore drag strip, and then over in Pensacola is another drag strip. So endless possibilities of where we can go and test on these things other than being on the street. But it's on its way. I'm going to do probably some LS6 springs in it, and probably an LT4 hot cam, change the intake out on it, and do away with some of the wiring, and like to find some kind of something I could do to get rid of all these brackets. I know I'm deleting this air conditioner because it's not even hooked up, and you can spend another $30-40 and have a bracket with a pulley on it that you can buy at O'Reilly's or Advance Auto that replaces this, and take some weight off, weight reduction, and probably run a little better. But I'm going to clean it up and try to get as much horsepower out of this engine without having to, pull it out and rebuild it. Which, I may end up having to do it anyway. I don't know. It seems to be running good. It seems to be running a little rich on the gas, which I've not adjusted the carburetor out that well yet. I pulled it apart and rebuilt it, and it seems to be running pretty good. And just bought the truck to have fun and have memories with my two sons. And maybe when I pass away, my two grandsons that I have now, one on the way and one that's here, it's about 2 years old, maybe they'll end up with this truck, because I've got a good candidate for a 5.3 swap right out there. When that truck dies or whatever, I'll probably end up pulling the 5.3 out of it and putting it all in here. It's a good running engine. It doesn't have that many miles on it for a 2001 truck, but I've got everything I need to do the swap right there, except for the headers and the motor mounts that I have to buy to put in here. And I think to bolt it to a 350 transmission, I'll have to buy the flex plate and some kind of adapter that I've seen in some of the YouTube videos that you have to bolt it to it. But anyway, as soon as I'm able to get this thing running and do a few burnouts and stuff, that's what people like to see, is you doing stuff on YouTube that could eventually end up in disaster or wreck or something like that, something exciting. I'm going to do some burnouts out here. I live in the county, so I don't have to worry about city police being out here that much or putting somebody's life in danger other than me being stupid. But anyway, this is an update on the trying to get this thing running since the bolts blew up and pretty much toasted my radiator and some other things on here. But anyway, I'll get back with y'all later. Thank you.